Hello, and a very warm welcome to Cultural Communication Confidence with me, Victoria Reynoldson, and a very warm welcome to this episode where we'll be talking about how to identify your leadership communication challenges. Now, this is building on a theme from last week where we talked about how to build leadership presence. If you haven't had the chance to listen to that episode, I'll put a link in the show notes, as that'd be a really good one to listen to as well, with some rich insights around what is leadership presence, why it's important, and how to build it. But today we're really going to move into now looking at you asking yourself, where am I at? At the beginning of the year 2024, at the time of recording, where am I on my journey with my leadership communication skills? This is so critical, particularly if you are an ambitious global professional who wants to develop their career this year, that you know that you're ready for that next level, the next job, the next promotion, and you want to step up and demonstrate this leadership presence. This is for you if you want to develop and build the trust and confidence through the way that you show up, and so that you can inspire, motivate, and connect with the people that you work with, and ultimately create action. Now, this quiz we're going to go through, I'm going to be looking at 8 key questions, and I want you to answer these questions as honestly as you can. Ideally, I would love it if you could answer these questions thinking about feedback that you've previously received about your leadership communication style. If you don't have that feedback, not to worry. I greatly encourage you to go out and get that feedback at some point soon. However, base it on what you know about yourself. So what you have had feedback on related aspects in the past, or what you believe and judge is your current performance. Now, I'm going to walk through these 8 questions. And for each question, I want you to score yourself from 1, not at all, to 10, very. And the reason why that scale is that you can then get really clear about where you feel weaker, where you're sort of feeling okay, and then which ones are stronger for you. I'm going to explain each question in detail, and as you go through, give yourself a score for each question. So what that means at the end of this quiz, that you are going to have a minimum score of 8. Really hope that none of you are down there, but let's see. And then you can have an absolute ultimate maximum score of 80. If you get 80, amazing. Please let me know. I will also say that I would love to meet you if you get 80. So think about where your scores are. And I'm going to also do an explanation of which category you fall into at the end and what your next steps are. So do stay for the full quiz and then the explanation. Now, I know that some of you might be more visual, in which case, of course, you're really welcome to take this quiz online or listen to this podcast as you take the quiz. I'll put the link in the show notes below. You can go to that web link and take the quiz and still get your scores. Okay, so let's get started. How to identify your leadership communication challenges. So question number 1, how well do you communicate your strengths and unique skills, talents, and experiences? From 1, not at all, to 10, very much. This question is exploring how aware are you of your talents and strengths and experiences that are great to bring forward. But it doesn't just stop at the self-awareness piece. It's also what you do with that. How do you communicate those skills, those strengths? Do people know about them? Are they aware of what you bring to the table and the value that you have? So this is really about the communication piece. So I'm going to repeat the question. How well do you communicate your strengths and unique skills, talents and experiences? From 1, not at all, to 10, very much. Okay. Question 2. How confident do you feel in senior leadership meetings? From 1, not at all, to 10, very confident. And when you consider this question, I want you to think about not just in the meeting itself, but what happens before the meeting, during the meeting, and afterwards. Because confidence is what happens in all of those 3 stages. So I'm going to repeat question 2. How confident do you feel in senior leadership meetings? From 1, not at all, to 10, very confident. 3. How clearly do you express your thoughts and ideas? From 1, not at all, to 10, very much. This is critical for your leadership communication. You need to be able to know and identify your key messages, what is most important to say, and perhaps what you don't say and talk about. And then you need to be able to frame that with the way you present it, the phrases that you use, framing your ideas, but also thinking about how you're speaking with clarity, concisely, brevity, and getting to the point. So just to repeat question 3, how clearly do you express your thoughts and ideas? From 1, not at all, to 10, very much. 4, how strongly do you create impact through the way that you speak? This is critical to your leadership presence, not just what you say, but how you say it. So again, if you missed out on last week's episode on leadership presence, please feel free to go back and have a listen. It's about how you show up, your energy, your intention for connecting, motivating, and inspiring others to action. It's about your voice and how your voice sounds, as well as your non-verbal communication, your body language and posture. So I repeat this question. How strongly do you create impact through the way that you speak? From 1, not at all, to 10, very much. Question 5. How successfully do you engage and influence your stakeholders? This is a critical question in leadership communication. Are you really aware of all your stakeholders? Not just the obvious ones, but the hidden ones as well. Have you mapped them and thought about how they prioritize against each other? Do you have a communication strategy for each group of your stakeholders and clear agreed ways about how you're going to communicate regularly, get feedback, and update them with issues? This is an important part of your leadership communication. So that question again, question 5, how successfully do you engage and influence your stakeholders? From 1, not at all, to 10, very much. 6, how do you adapt your behaviors and communication styles in multicultural teams? 1, not at all, to 10, very much. This is all about if you are a global professional working with individuals and teams across borders, or maybe you're working in one location with people from many different cultures, then you need to have cultural intelligence and to have the emotional intelligence as well to know how to adapt what you're doing. What's going to work in one situation may not work with a different group of people. So you need to understand, how do you adapt your communication approach? What do you change in your non-verbal communication? What do you say or do differently to have greater success in how you connect with people and engage them? So that question again, number 6, how do you adapt your behaviors and communication style in multicultural teams? 1, not at all, to 10, very much. Number 7, how well do you listen and pay attention to nonverbal communication of other people? Some people expect me to just talk about, when we're talking about leadership communication, what you need to do yourself to change what you're doing. And that's true. There are many things that we need to change in an individual. But it's not just about how you speak, it's also about how you listen. That is also a key part of your leadership communication skills. So I want you to reflect on this question. Number 7, how well do you listen and pay attention to the nonverbal communication of other people? 1, not at all, to 10, very much. And then the very final question, number 8, how well do you handle challenging conversations, including disagreeing, difficult feedback, and conflict? 1, not at all the way through to 10, very much. Where are you? Where's your score between 1 and 10? Sometimes this is the toughest area, the toughest challenge. Being able to handle the emotions of others, being able to handle your own emotions, and still being able to communicate clearly and find solutions. This is critical to your leadership communication skills. So I want you to rate yourself on this. I repeat the question, how well do you handle challenging conversations, including disagreeing, difficult feedback, and conflict? From 1, not at all, somewhere all the way up to 10, very much. So there we go. Those were the 8 questions. Hopefully you have written down 8 separate scores, somewhere between 1 and 10 for all of them. If you need to repeat any of those questions or you didn't quite catch it, then feel free to go back and listen, or again, you might find it easier to go to the link in the show notes and do it online, this quiz. But now I'm going to talk about what these scores mean. And just to be clear, you're going to have a total score when you add them up anywhere between 8, which is the lowest possible score. And I'm really hoping none of you have that. If you do, please come and talk to me and let's see how we can help you. All the way through to 80, which would mean that you are a rock superstar. So let's talk about the 3 categories of these scores and what they mean and your next step. So category 1, if you scored between 8 and 44, the first thing I want to say is well done for doing this quiz. And it really always starts with self-awareness. So maybe you didn't realize this about yourself. Maybe this is confirming something that you kind of knew about how you operate. But this is a starting point. So yes, there is work to do. You might have scored low scores across a number of different areas. But the great news is you're now aware. So let me ask you the question, if you did score between 8 and 44, where are you going to start? What is going to be your priority area for this year to help move you forward and start accelerating some growth in your leadership communication skills? Okay. So the second category is if you scored between 45 to 64. Well, the first thing to say is well done. You're making great progress and clearly you have some strong foundations. It might be that you have an average score across most of these, or perhaps you are stronger in some areas but lower scores in others. Regardless of this, you are clearly somebody who's already paying attention to your leadership communication skills, which is great. So the question for you to think about for your next step is, what happens next? For you to be able to accelerate and move towards your goals of promotion or your next job, your career development, what is it you're going to pay attention to? Are there some areas with lower scores that you can prioritize and start focusing and developing on? Or do you think you need to improve across a number of different areas? And then the third category, if you scored between 65 and 80, fantastic. You are doing really well. It is probably likely that you're scoring strongly across most of the areas in this quiz. So that is fantastic. So the question for you, if you are in this category, is really two questions actually. The first question is, if you were going to enhance one of those skills and amplify it even more, which area of leadership communication skills would you choose? Alternatively, you might consider, particularly if you're a leader of a team already, how are you going to help your own team, your people, to develop leadership communication skills in areas where you're already strong? Really consider that question. So that's it. That was the quiz. I really hope that's been helpful for you to help identify where you're at, where needs the focus and attention, and what your next step is to start your growth and development plan in your leadership communication skills. I would love to know what the outcome of this quiz was for you. So please feel free to, you can email me at victoria@culturecuppa.com, or you can message me on LinkedIn on my personal profile, Victoria Reynoldson. Let me know your score, and also let me know what your priority area is for growth this year. That's really important. The score by itself is not enough. And I also want to remind you, if you listened to last week's episode, we have an incredibly exciting new masterclass coming up at the beginning of February, How to Speak Like a Leader in 2024. And I am going to be sharing the details very soon, but I'm kind of keeping it secret for a little bit longer. But I'm sharing it here with you, my podcast, and listeners and YouTube watchers, because I want to give you the chance to sign up before it all goes live. So if you're interested in that free masterclass, How to Speak Like a Leader in 2024, then you can either email me to get on the waiting list, victoria@culturecuppa.com, or message me on LinkedIn on my personal profile. And I'll put the links also in the show notes. So let me ask you, did you find that quiz helpful? Was it fun? Did you learn something about yourself, very importantly? And do you have something to take away to work on? If so, that's brilliant news. That was really my intention with this particular quiz. And I would absolutely love for you to share this with somebody else who would really benefit from it. Maybe it's somebody you know who is also going for a promotion or a job change or a career change in 2024. Maybe it's somebody who would benefit from understanding their current skill set. Maybe they need to build some self-awareness, or maybe it's even members of your own team. In which case, please feel free to share this episode with them. Share the link to the quiz. I would love to get as many people as possible trying this out and get this feedback. That's going to help you really make that move and change towards your aspirations, your career dreams and goals in 2024. Thank you so much for joining me here today on Cultural Communication Confidence, and I very much look forward to seeing you next time.